Pangea is a somewhat known company that made Plants vs. Zombies plush sets, and today we're going to be looking at the first ever Plants vs. Zombies plush set that they made. So with that said, welcome to a look at the Pangea Set 1 plush set. Let's start off with the first plush in this set, which is the pea shooter. Now, one thing that's weird about most of these plushes is that for some reason they have a square leaf base. And on top of the weird square leaf base, they have these leaves which looks like they're actually supposed to be the leaf base, but they still for some reason have a square at the bottom of them, and I think I know why. And I'm pretty sure the reason for this is just so they stand up instead of just falling over, because well, without that square there, they would just kind of fall over. But yeah, still overall a really weird detail that they added. And I think it would have looked better if they just added a normal leaf base like Langston did. But yeah, this plush is all the exact same color, being a dark green material. And well, this plush has a metal rod in the neck so it doesn't get floppy and fall over the ears, which makes sense because well, these plushes it could get easily damaged if they didn't have that there. The face is overall shaped pretty well, and well, the rest of the plush actually looks pretty good besides the weird looking leaf base. Because well, technically the colors are inaccurate, but besides that, this plush is actually pretty good, especially because I really like how the face is shaped. But the leaves on the leaf base could get damaged though, because well, they're made out of like a feltish material. And well, there's a very low chance that you will ever get any of these plushes in the set, because well, they're all extremely rare. And well, for most of these plushes, I had a very hard time even finding any images of them, so yeah, it's extremely rare to even own one of these plushes in the set, so yeah, you have a very low chance of finding them. But if you do want them, you can find them on websites like eBay or Zanyu. And now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the snow pea. Now this plush is the exact same as the pea shooter, except it's just blue instead of a dark green color. And yeah, this probably has to be the biggest copy in the whole set because well, it's the exact same plush as the pea shooter, except well, it's just changed colors. It literally has all the exact same details on it, even with the leaf on the back of it, even though Snow Pea isn't even supposed to have a leaf on the back of it. Which shows that they probably didn't put much effort into this plush because well, it's just a recolor of the pea shooter. And yeah, it would have been a lot better if they even just changed like the leaf on the back to like actual spikes like it's supposed to be, because well, that'll actually show that they put a little work into this plush, but they really didn't put much work into it at all. Because all they did is took the pattern for the pea shooter and just used a blue material instead of a dark green material. But yeah, this plush is significantly more rare than the pea shooter though, and I was basically only able to find 2 images of it. And all these images basically come from one website, so yeah, this plush is extremely rare and you basically have no chance of finding it. It's probably the rarest in the whole set. Because I've seen it the least amount of times, and well, even with all the pictures that it has, it's all basically from the same website. But your best chances of finding this plush is either on eBay or Zanyu, but there's a very small chance it'll ever show up. And I also went to a slightly more common plush in the set, being the sunflower. Now this plush uses the exact same leaf face and stem as the snow pea and the pea shooter, except the faces is actually looking really weird. Because well, in my opinion, the face on this plush really isn't that good. The main reason for that is that the eyes just look overall really inaccurate. I don't know what it is about them, it just doesn't really look that good. Also, for some reason the face is facing like upwards instead of like centered, so yeah, I don't know why that is, because well, it overall makes this plush look a lot weirder than it would have been. And also, there's a lot of petals on these plushes which are made out of a felt material, so they can get easily bent and damaged, and a lot of the times for pictures of this plush, you'll see them get bent and damaged. And overall, they really had a bad design for the sunflower's face, and overall, I think it would have looked a lot better if they just changed a few details on the face and stuff like that. But yeah, this plush is slightly more common than others in the set, so yeah, you could probably find this plush on eBay or Zanyu if you looked for a very long time. And now let's go on to probably the most common plush in the whole set, being the walnut. Now this plush is probably the most common in the whole set because I've seen the most images of it, and there's actually been a few sales of it. As well, a few months ago I saw one on Zanyu. And well, overall, the walnut plush actually has a pretty good design on it. I really like the details at the bottom of it to make it look a bit more like crunched looking, like a walnut's actually supposed to look, which is actually something that not a lot of companies did, so yeah, I'm glad that Pangea added that. Also, the eyes just look really good in my opinion. Overall, the facial expression looks pretty nice. The only really bad thing about this plush in my opinion is that the shape of it's just really weird and not accurate to a walnut it's supposed to look, and it more looks like a tall nut shape. Because this plush really isn't that circular like a walnut is supposed to be, and it's more like cylinderish. But yeah, besides the weird shape of this plush is actually really good, and I would definitely recommend getting it, and you definitely have the highest chance of finding this plush out of the whole set. So yeah, I recommend look on eBay or Zanyu for this plush, but there is a bootleg of it that's just a lighter version of this plush. And the bootleg is actually for sale on eBay right now, but I wouldn't recommend getting it because it's lower quality than this one. And now let's move on to the next plush instead, which is the jalapeno. Now this plush is actually pretty well shaped, except there is a few weird details on it, like the face. Now in my opinion, the mouth looks fine, and actually I would say the mouth actually looks pretty good, but the eyes is just what ruins this plush for me. Because, well, for some reason they decided to make the eyes like 3D, which is actually a really bad decision on their end because it's made this plush look a lot weirder than it would have been. And I think it would have looked a lot better if they just, embroidered the eyes on like most other companies did. And well, the overall execution of the eyes being 3D wasn't the best because, well, companies like WorldMax actually did a good job with it, but yeah, this company definitely did not. So yeah, just like the sunflower, I really don't like the face on this plush, but besides that, the rest of it's overall pretty good, like the mouth and the shape of it. It also has a stem on the top, which is pretty well shaped and is stitched on, so it can't really fall off. But yeah, besides the weird eyes on this plush is overall pretty good, and you can find it on eBay or Zanyu, but it is extremely rare. And now moving on to the zombies, we have the basic zombie. Now this plush is actually pretty good, especially on the face in my opinion. I really like the hair on his head because, well, it actually looks like very detailed, unlike other zombies that really just don't have hair at all. Because, well, the Lynxen zombies basically never have hair, but this one does, and I really do like the details on it, especially like it's made out of like a stringish material, but it could get damaged over the years. And the eyes could also get faded over the years and just kind of miss the whole pupils over the years because, well, they could kind of get erased from the plush. And well, the teeth and the tie could get bent because they're made out of a felt material, but besides that, this plush is actually really good. The clothes are made out of a pretty high quality material, and well, they overall look really nice and really accurate to how they're supposed to be. Also, the overall proportions of the zombie is really good, and well, they actually put a lot of details into this plush. And well, if you could find this one, I would actually definitely recommend getting it because it's one of my favorites in the whole set. And overall, they put a lot more detail in this plush than the plants in this set, which I really like, and you can find this plush on eBay or Zanyu, but it is extremely rare. And now moving on to probably the most unique and the final plush in this whole set being the Jack-in-the-Box zombie. Now, fun fact about the Jack-in-the-Box zombie, there's only one company that ever made a plush of it, and that's Pangea, and well, they made a few designs of it, but this one was, in my opinion, the best design. It uses the exact same face as the basic zombie, except it has wrinkles on the forehead, and the mouth is red instead of black. And well, the clothes on this plush are made out of a nice fabric material, and they overall look really good and don't seem to get damaged in really any spots of it. And well, on the hands it has a cube that's stitched onto it, which is well, a Jack-in-the-Box obviously, so yeah, it overall looks pretty good. And well, what makes this plush really unique because it's one of the only Jack-in-the-Box zombies that were ever made. And well, basically every detail on this plush looks really good, and it's clearly that they put a lot of effort into it. But yeah, sadly this plush is extremely rare though, but the best chance of finding it is either on eBay or Zanyu. But yeah, which plush is your favorite? Mine's probably the Jack-in-the-Box zombie, but comment down below yours, and yeah, have a great day. Pangea is a company that has made many Plants vs. Zombies plush sets, and today we're going to be looking at the second ever one that they made. So with that said, welcome to a look at the Pangea Set 2 Plants vs. Zombies plush set. Let's start off with the first plush in the set, which is the pea shooter. Now this plush's leaf base is actually a little weirdly shaped because, well, they don't really look as much as leaves. Because, well, they seem to just be kind of like circles, which isn't accurate to how a leaf base is supposed to look. But yeah, the stem is very well stuffed to make the plush hold up well over the years so the neck doesn't get all floppy so the head doesn't all like get destroyed. And well, one bad thing about this plush is that it's all the exact same color, being a dark green color instead of having a light green color on the head like it's supposed to. It's also missing the ring around the neck. But yeah, it has a leaf on the back of it which is made out of a pretty good plush material, and the embroidery on the face is pretty good. And well, the plush itself is pretty much okay. It's not the best pea shooter plush by far, but it's definitely not the worst either. It's overall just a very simplistic pea shooter plush, and well, there could have been a lot more effort put into it. And even though it's missing a few details, it's still a pretty okay plush. And well, this plush is extremely rare and barely has any documented on it, so if you do want it, you can either find it on eBay or Zanyu, but it'll be extremely hard to find. And now let's go on to the next plush in the set, which is the sunflower. Now this plush's leaf base is actually slightly different than the pea shooters. I don't know if it's just bad quality control because all these leaf bases just look slightly different on every plush. And well, even though the leaf base is still different, it still doesn't really look accurate to how it's supposed to look, but it looks slightly more accurate. Just like the pea shooter, it has a very well stuffed stem so the neck doesn't get all destroyed. And well, the sunflower head itself looks overall pretty weird in my opinion. The back of it is the exact same color as the face, which isn't accurate to how it's supposed to be, as it's supposed to be a green color on the back of it. Also, all the petals could get easily bent and damaged because they're made out of a very delicate material that could get easily damaged and collect debris. And well, on the face, the embroidery just really doesn't look that accurate at all to how a sunflower is supposed to look. And in my opinion, there's just a lot better sunflower plushes than this one, especially because, well, the face is for some reason also staring up for some reason. Even though it's supposed to be staring straight, so I don't know why they did that. But yeah, overall, the sunflower's face just kind of ruins this whole plush, but yeah, if you still want it, you can find it on eBay or Zanyu, but it's extremely rare. Now let's move on to the next question to say, which is the cherry bomb. Now this cherry bomb plush is actually pretty good. The only really bad thing about it though is that it has some really weird teeth. And I really don't like that the teeth are rounded instead of just being like normal squares. So yeah, I don't know why they did that. And it's also made out of a felt material instead of being stitched on. So yeah, it could get easily damaged there. But yeah, the eyes on this plush are actually accurate, unlike Linkson's. So yeah, this plush is actually better than Linkson's in my opinion because well, it has more accuracies to it. And overall, just uses with a lot better details. And for some reason, the leaf on the top of it though is a lime green, which isn't accurate, but it still looks pretty nice. The stem is also very skinny, but it does hold up pretty well over the years, and yeah, this plush is actually pretty good in my opinion. The only really bad thing about this plush though is that the buck teeth are really weird and they are just get bent and damaged really easily because of the felt material on them. But yeah, this plush is extremely rare though and barely has any documented images or owners of it, so yeah, this plush is extremely rare, but you can find it on eBay or Danyu. And also on to the next plush instead, which is the Snoopy. Now this plush, I don't really have much to say about it because, well, it's literally an exact copy of the pea shooter. And I mean an exact copy, there's literally no differences about it besides the color of it. Like, even the leaf bases on these plushes just all look the same with the embroidery as well. And honestly, this plush just really isn't that good. I do like that it's a light blue color instead of a dark blue color, so yeah, that is one good thing about this plush. But yeah, this was by far the laziest plush in the whole set because they just took the pea shooter pattern and made it blue instead of dark green. But yeah, there's not much to really say about this plush, so if you want, you can find it on eBay or Danyu. And also on to the next plush instead, which is the Chomper. Now, I actually really like this Chomper plush, and I'm really glad that it doesn't have eyes like the Linkson version because, well, it makes this plush actually look a lot better. The leaf base on it actually looks slightly more accurate than the others because, well, it actually has 4 leaves on it. It also look more leaf-shaped than the others. The stem on it, though, is very skinny, so it could get damaged pretty easily, but yeah, it still holds up pretty well, surprisingly. Also, it has spikes on its head, which are made out of a felt material, so yeah, that could get damaged very easily. And well, same thing with the teeth because, well, they're really small, so it could get easily bent and damaged and collect debris, which is obviously a bad thing about this plush. And well, the inside of the mouth seems to be made out of a pretty good material that doesn't seem to get damaged that easily. But yeah, this plush is extremely rare though, and it only has one documented owner of it that got it on eBay, so yeah, this plush is extremely rare, and I have basically only seen one listing of it. But the best places to look for this plush is either eBay or Danyu. Now moving on from the day plants, we have the next plush instead, which is the Sunshroom. Now overall, the Sunshroom plush actually looks pretty good, except for the embroidery on the face. And I think they could have made the facial expression just a bit better, but besides that, this plush is actually really good. The head is overall very nicely shaped, and it has the accurate dots on it, which makes it look overall really good. And the head shape is overall pretty nice, and it seems to have something like on the bottom of the head, maybe like a piece of cardboard to make it stand up a bit better, because well, but in the images that I could find of it, it overall looks pretty flat and holds up pretty well. But yeah, only the bad thing about this plush is that the face on it just looks really weird, and overall it could have been better if they made it with a different expression. But yeah, just like the Chomper, is at a similar rarity because, well, there's only ever been one listing of it and only one person owns it. But yeah, our best bet of finding it is either on eBay or Danyu. And now let's go on to the next plush instead, which is the Starfruit. Now the Starfruit plush actually looks pretty good, especially compared to other ones like the bootleg one and the Linkson 2 one. The eyes overall look pretty good, and I can't really tell which material they're made out of, so yeah, they could get damaged easily, but I can't really tell the material on them because we have very little pictures of it. But well, the tooth is made out of a felt material, so yeah, that could get easily bent and damaged. And well, the overall shape of the star overall looks really accurate, and the stem on the top of it also holds up pretty well over the years from what I could see, and yeah, it seems to be made out of a pretty nice material. And well, the best part about this plush is that on the edges of the star, you can see that, well, it actually has some nicely detailed on it. It seems like they actually put a lot more work into this Starfruit plush than other companies did that made Starfruit plushes. Because well, they added these little lines at the end of them to make it look more detailed and more look like 3D. Which is overall a really nice detail for them to add. I'm really glad that they did it because well, it makes their Starfruit plushes overall more unique to others. And well, this is by far the most detailed Starfruit plush that was ever made by any company. But yeah, this plush is extremely rare though, I don't even think there's a documented owner of it, but yeah, you could either find it on eBay or Danyu, but it's extremely rare and you have a very low chance of finding it. Now moving on to the zombies, we have the first design of the basic zombie. Now the face on this zombie actually has a lot of details just stitched onto it. And while all the details on the face just seem to be kind of cramped together, and the mouth overall just looks really weird in my opinion. Especially because it takes up a majority of the face, and well, it seems to be just kind of like a black void. And I think it would have been better if they added a few more teeth to the zombie's mouth and made it a bit smaller so it doesn't take up like the entirety of the face. But yeah, besides that, I think the zombie's face is actually really good. I like that it has details like the hair coming out of the head because, well, that's not many other zombie plushes made by any other companies. And well, the tie overall looks pretty good. It is made out of a felt material, so it could get bent and damaged, but besides that, it overall looks really nice. Now, the rest of the clothes on this plush are made out of a very nice material and they hold up pretty well over the years, except they could get them unstitched from this plush because, well, the majority of the time you see this plush, it actually does come unstitched. And it seems they did a really bad job keeping the coats on these plushes because, well, a lot of the times you'll see them missing the coats, which is obviously not a good thing about this plush because, well, you wouldn't want this plush missing a very good detail of it. And well, the second design is this version that is slightly smaller and is also in a sitting down position instead of standing up. And well, I'd say that they actually made a few improvements on this one, though basically the only thing that they changed is the face and the position that it's in, but it overall looks pretty good. I do like that they made the mouth a bit smaller and they made the other details on the face a bit bigger so it takes up more space instead of just having the mouth take up like half the face. And well, basically everything on this plush, including the clothes and everything like that, are the exact same as they were on the original. The only thing that's different is that the legs are in a sitting position instead of a standing up position, but yeah, that's really the only difference about them. And well, the second design is far more common than this first design, but yeah, they're both extremely rare designs, and yeah, you have a very low chance of finding them. And now let's move on to the next question to say, which is the dancing zombie. Now, the face on the dancing zombie is pretty weirdly shaped because, well, the cheeks are just kind of a lot smaller than they're actually supposed to be. But besides the face being weirdly shaped, it resembles a Lynxen zombie a lot more than the others in the set do, like the original basic zombie. And it seems instead of making a unique face like the basic zombie, they just kind of stole Lynxen's design. But yeah, the mouth overall looks pretty good. The only really weird thing about it is that for some reason the outline of the mouth has been embroidered on with a brown material instead of a gray material, which is overall a pretty weird thing to do. But yeah, the hair on this plush could get damaged because it's made out of this very fuzzy material, and well, over the years it could get unfuzzy and also collect debris and dust. But yeah, besides that, the rest of the plush is actually pretty good because, well, the clothes could fall off because they're only stitched on, but yeah, that doesn't happen too often with this plush, and overall looks pretty good. You know, this plush basically has all the details on it to make it accurate on the design it was based off of. But yeah, this plush is extremely rare though and only has one documented owner of it, so yeah, if you do want this plush, you could look for eBay or Zanu, but yeah, it is extremely rare and probably won't show up. And now let's move on to the next plush in this set, which is the Jack-in-the-Box zombie. Now, the first design is far more rare than the second design, and yeah, the first design really doesn't have that many differences from the second design, actually. The only really difference is that the face is just slightly longer, and the plush itself is just slightly bigger than the second design. And well, besides that, all these plushes are basically the exact same. But yeah, the faces on them are pretty nicely embroidered on, they look pretty accurate to how they're actually supposed to look in the game. You know, but I do really like the hair sticking out of the head because there's a pretty nice detail that isn't on many other zombie plushes. And but I am glad they made the inside of the mouth a red instead of a black because it adds more detail to it and makes it stand out a little more. And the white clothes could get unstitched and get damaged pretty easily, but yeah, besides that, this plush is actually really good and I like the box that it's holding. And the box has all the correct details on it and overall looks really nice. And it's one of the only Jack-in-the-Box zombies ever made because, well, only 2 companies ever made Jack-in-the-Box zombies. But yeah, both versions of this plush are extremely rare, but the second design is just slightly more common. But yeah, this plush is basically extremely rare in both variants, and if you want, you can find it on eBay or Zanu, but it's extremely rare and hard to find. And now moving on to the final plush in this whole set, we have the blue coat zombie. Now this plush is just really strange because, well, we don't really know what it's based off of. Because, well, this plush has a blue coat and has some pink shorts that has some designs on it. So yeah, this plush really doesn't have anything that is based off of. So yeah, it's overall just a pretty strange plush. But yeah, the face is basically the exact same as the dancing zombie, but without the hair, and it basically has all the exact same problems, like the mouth being embroidered brown instead of gray. And well, instead of having a felt tie like the basic zombie, it actually has an iron-on tie that is blue instead of red, which is overall a pretty unique detail that basically no other zombie has. And what the coat is wearing does look pretty good, and it's overall made out of a pretty high quality material, except that the stitching on it just really wasn't that good. Because just like basically every zombie in the set, the coat could get unstitched over the years. It seems like they had some pretty bad stitching on this plush from what I could tell. And well, the pink shorts on it could also get unstitched over the years, and they actually look really unique. That's basically on no other zombie plush. As they have some pretty weird designs on them, but I actually really like it because it makes this zombie plush a lot more unique than it would have been. But yeah, this by far has to be the most unique zombie plush in this whole set because, well, we just don't really know what it's based off of, and it overall looks pretty cool in my opinion. You know, this probably has to be my favorite plush in this whole set, but it is also one of the rarest in the whole set because it has 0 documented owners. If you want this plush, you can either find it on eBay or Zanu, but you basically have no chance of finding it because of how rare it is. But yeah, which plush in this set is your favorite? Mine's probably the blue coat zombie, but comment down below yours, and yeah, have a great day. Today we will be taking a look at the Pangea phone holder plush set, one of the weirdest plush sets to ever be made. Now let's start with the first plush in the set being the pea shooter. This pea shooter plush is in a flower pot, which is already a unique design, and it has the words Plants vs Zombies on it in green and gray text. The entire pea shooter plush is just one solid color being dark green, which is weird because the head is supposed to be a limer green, which is kind of inaccurate. This plush has leaves which are made out of felt and they have little black designs on it to make the leaf look more like detailed. And in front of the pea shooter on the flower pot there's a little hole which you could put the phone in, which is why it's called a phone holder. The inside of the phone holder is nothing special, it's just the same material as the rest of the plush but in a limer green. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the sunflower, and this plush is really weird looking. Now for some reason the face on this plush just looks a little off, like the sunflower by Langston is a lot better, but this plush just has a weird face for some reason on it. This plush's petals are made out of felt instead of the nice material that Langston made out of theirs, which I think they should have made out of the same material as Langston's because felt is just a weird material to use for the petals. And a weird thing about this plush is that the back of its head is brown instead of yellow for some reason. I don't know why Pangea did this because it was a simple thing to do, but they didn't do it. And besides the head on this plush, everything else is the same, the leaves, the stem, and the phone holder itself. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the cherry bomb. Now this cherry bomb plush is just really weird looking. The only thing good I could really say about this plush is that the eyes are more accurate because they're yellow instead of white like Lynx's, but that's the only thing accurate about this plush. Now, one thing weird about this plush is that the stem has only one leaf on it, while it's supposed to have 3, so yeah, for some reason that's inaccurate. And also, for some reason, instead of using the dark green leaves they had from the other plushes in the set, like the pea shooter and sunflower, they for some reason made a lighter green one for this for some reason, which makes the plush even more inaccurate. And for some reason, the teeth on this plush are rounded, which just doesn't make any sense because they're not supposed to be like that. I don't know why Pangea decided to round the teeth because it just makes no sense. And yeah, the pot and everything else is just the same as all the other plushes in this set, so let's move on to the next plush in this set. The next plush in this set is the walnut. Now, the walnut in this set is actually pretty good. The only thing really bad about this plush that I could complain about is that the embroidery is the wrong color. For some reason, they decided to have brown embroidery instead of black embroidery, which just makes the plush look worse, but that's the only really bad thing about this plush. One thing I do like about this plush a lot though is that they added these 3 little details at the bottom which just give a nice touch to the walnut. It also makes it more accurate than any other walnut plush, so yeah, I do like this walnut plush a lot. And just like every other plush in this set, it has the pot and a phone holder on it. The next plush in this set is the snow pea. Now there isn't much to say about this plush because it's the exact same as the pea shooter but just with a blue head. Like, they literally didn't change anything about this plush, they just gave it a blue head and called it a new plush. They didn't even change the leaf on the back of its head to spikes like the Snow Pea in the game, it just has a leaf for some reason, which is inaccurate. Now, there is actually a version of this plush that has slightly more detail than the normal Snow Pea in this set. This Snow Pea has a blue stem instead of a green stem, but that's literally the only other change they have in this plush. So yeah, overall, this is probably the laziest plush in this whole set because it's just a reskin of the pea shooter. Now let's move on to the next plush in this set, which is the Chomper. Now this Chomper plush is actually pretty good in my opinion. The Chomper for some reason has a brown mouth instead of a red one for some reason. I don't know why Pangea made this, but for some reason it just doesn't have a red mouth. But that's really the only bad thing about this plush, and one thing that I do really like about this plush is that it doesn't have eyes like the Lynxon one. So yeah, for some reason the Lynxon Chomper has eyes because it's based off of fan art, but this plush actually looks better than the Lynxon one in my opinion. I would much rather this one than the Lynxon one. So yeah, overall this Chomper plush is just really good and it has all the necessary details for a Chomper. There's also a second version of this plush which is more rare that has a brown stem instead of a green stem, and that's really the only thing they changed. Now let's move on to the next plush in this set, which is the Scaredy Shroom. Now, this is the only Scaredy Shroom plush to exist besides the prototype made by World Max. And this plush is extremely rare. There's literally only one image of this, so yeah, you're just gonna have to look at this one image the whole time. And overall, I think Pangea did an okay job at making the Scaredy Shroom plush. This plush has a light purple cap with dark purple that looks to be like iron-on circles on its head. I can't really tell what it's made out of though. The Scaredy Shroom has a white body and 2 little black embroidered dots on its face to show its eyes. It also has a white snout with a black spot on it to show where it shoots out of. Overall, since this is the only officially released Scaredy Shroom plush, I would say it's okay. But since there's literally only one image of it from one listing, there's practically no chance of you getting this plush. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Jalapeno. Now this Jalapeno plush is probably my least favorite in the entire set. The first bad thing about this plush, it just doesn't get the jalapeno shape correctly. Another thing is that the stem and the green part on it literally isn't even on the entire top of the plush. It only goes over half of the top of the plush, and the back of the head is just entirely red, so it doesn't even cover the entire plush. The eyes also just kind of like bulge out for some reason because they're like white pieces of felt with black felt on it and a little bit of red felt to kind of show the eyelids, but it just kind of goes horribly together. The mouth also just looks really weird for some reason. Overall, Pangea did a terrible job with making this plush, and it's one of the ugliest plushes to ever be made. So yeah, let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is a bit better. The next plush in the set is the star fruit, and once again, just like the Scaredy Shroom, it only has one image of it. Now, I would say that this plush is actually a good design of the star fruit. The star fruit is an entirely light yellow color and has a little light green stem on the top of it. It also has a little embroidered mouth with a little felt tooth sticking out of it, and the eyes are made out of felt with embroidery on it. It's kind of hard to tell if there's any other details on the plush because there's literally only one image of it that I could look at. But yeah, overall I would say that this plush is actually better than the Lynxen design of the star fruit. But yeah, once again, I doubt that you'll ever get this plush because it only literally has one image of it from one lot. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Colonel Polt. Now, one thing bad about this plush is that the Colonel Polt is just too small. But besides that, I think that Pangea did an okay job with this plush. The corn is actually pretty detailed with darker spots on it to make it look more detailed, and it's a fur texture. The eyebrows are stitched nicely and have a good design to them. The eyes are also very accurate. The leaves on this plush are just like a little wide for some reason. It just kind of goes around the plush weirdly and doesn't look too well stitched on. I'm guessing Pangea took high notes from like Lynxen because this plush looks really similar to Lynxen's Colonel Polt, but this plush is just on a pot instead. So yeah, this plush is pretty good looking, but probably because it's copied off of Lynxen very heavily. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is by far my most favorite in this whole set. The next plush in the set is the Cob Cannon. Now this plush is actually unique because it doesn't have a pot, instead it just uses the wheels on it, which I think is actually a pretty good detail by Pangea to do. And instead of the phone holder being on the pot, since there is no pot, and this plush is on the center of the head on the Cob Cannon. So the cob on this plush is made out of the same material as the Colonel Polt on this plush. This plush has a dark green body with dark green eyelids with the white eye and a red pupil on it. I'm glad that they added the eyelids to this plush because it makes the Cob Cannon look angry, which is accurate to the game. The cob itself is held up by a gray material, which is supposed to be the wood, I guess. The wheels on this plush are also made out of this yellow material, but we can't see if there's like centers of the wheels or not. Overall, this plush is by far the most detailed in the whole set and is the most high quality in the whole set. Sadly though, this plush is extremely rare and only has one image of it in the same listing that the Starfruit was in. Now let's move on to the final plush in the set, and the only zombie plush in the set, being the zombie hand. So yeah, this plush is probably the weirdest in the whole set because it's literally just a hand of a zombie. This plush is in the same flower pot as the rest of them, but instead of having green on the bottom of the flower pot, it has this like the same color as the flower pot itself, being like a brown material. The zombie hand is green and it has white nails on it, which are really long. The nails are also kind of like weirdly shaped and pointy. The zombie has a blue sleeve, and under the blue sleeve there's a little bit of white there. The white on this plush just kind of looks like the undersleeve of the blue sleeve. Overall, this plush is okay, and it's really unique because there's no other plush like this that is just literally just a zombie hand. And I think it's really unique that Pangea came up with this and decided to make it. So the Cob Cannon in this set is my favorite, but what is your favorite plush in this set? Comment that down below. Make sure to like and subscribe and have a great day. Today we're going to be looking at one of the strangest Plants vs. Zombies plushes that was ever made by any company. And well, this most likely has to be one of the strangest, if not the strangest, Pangea Plants vs. Zombies plush set that was ever made. So with that said, welcome to a look at the Pangea Hammer Plants vs. Zombies plush set. Let's start off with the first plush in the set, which is the pea shooter. Now, all these plushes are for some reason shaped to be a hammer, which is overall just a really strange concept that was actually used by a few other plushes in the past. And while all these plushes make the exact same noise when hit down. So yeah, overall it's a pretty strange noise that really doesn't have much to anything to do with Plants vs. Zombies. So yeah, I wonder why they chose that sound, not like a thing that had to do with Plants vs. Zombies. But yeah, this pea shooter plush is pretty simplistic because, well, it's just the head of the normal pea shooter, and well, it just has like normal leaves from the leaf base just on the pea shooter head. It also just has this plush thing here, which is supposed to be like the part of the hammer that you would hold. So yeah, it's overall just a really strange plush set. And well, the hammer part that you hold actually doesn't really have anything in it to make it stand up well. So yeah, it could get very understuffed, which is obviously a bad thing about this plush because, well, if it get understuffed, then it can't really stand up at all. And well, this one probably has to be one of the more common ones in the set because, well, I've seen it showing up a few times. But yeah, it's overall pretty rare. If you want it, you can find it on eBay or Zanyu. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the sunflower. Now this plush uses the exact same head as the normal sunflower plush, and it has leaves on the back of it which are made out of a felt material, which obviously isn't a good thing because, well, since they're sticking out, they can actually get bent and damaged very easily. And well, same thing with the petals on the sunflower because, well, since there's so many of them and they could just collect dust and debris so easily, so yeah, a lot of parts of this plush could actually get damaged, which makes it worse than others in the set. Because, well, obviously you don't want these plushes getting damaged because, well, they are quite rare, so yeah, obviously these details aren't too good. Also, for some reason, the back of the sunflower head's an orange material instead of a green material because, well, the color of it on the back is supposed to be green instead of orange, but yeah, they just kind of use the exact same color for the face, which doesn't really make much sense. And it uses the exact same part of the hammer from the pea shooter to hold. It's basically just the exact same color as well. But yeah, once again, this plush you could either find on eBay or Zanyu, but I only seen it show up like 1 or 2 times, so yeah, it was overall pretty rare. And now moving on to probably the most common plush in the whole set, being the snow pea. And this one's basically an exact clone of the pea shooter one, except it's just a different color. And I mean an exact copy. There's literally no changes of the details on like the face, the leaves, or anything. It's literally just an exact copy of the pea shooter, except the color green is just darker and also the head's light blue. So yeah, they only changed these 2 colors to be slightly different to make it look more like a snow pea, obviously. So yeah, it's overall just a pretty strange plush and basically an exact copy of the pea shooter. And well, this one's actually the most common as I've seen it the most, and the most people own this one. So yeah, out of any single plush in this set, you do have the highest chance of finding this one. But still, even though this one's more common than the others, it's still extremely rare in terms of like Plants vs. Zombies plush rarity. So yeah, if you do want this plush, look on eBay or Zanyu, but it is quite rare. Now moving on to the next plush in the set, we have the Chomper. Now just like other plushes in the set, it uses the exact same head as the normal Chomper plush, except just with a hammer base on it. And well, it basically uses the exact same design on the leaves as like others like Snow Pea and Pea Shooter in the set, so yeah, it basically just has leaves stitched around the head. And well, the rest of the plush besides like the Chomper's head is basically the exact same as the other plush in the set, so yeah, it's really not that unique of a design. One bad thing though about this plush is that the teeth could get easily damaged because, well, it has like felt material on the teeth, and also the inside of the mouth is made out of a felt material, so yeah, that could all collect debris and dust quite easily and the teeth could get bent, which you obviously don't want about these plushes. And one thing that I didn't mention earlier with these plushes is that every single plush in this set could get the voice box damaged quite easily. Because, well, since these plushes were cheaply made, the voice boxes don't hold up well over the years, so yeah, it's quite rare to actually find one with a working voice box. But yeah, the Chomper plush in this set only has 1 documented owner, so yeah, it is pretty rare and you have a very low chance of finding it, but look on eBay or Zanyu if you want it. And now moving on to an even rarer plush in this whole set, being the Colonel Pult. Now, one thing that's very interesting about this Colonel Pult plush is that it actually doesn't use the Pangea Colonel Pult design, instead uses the Lynxen design. And well, I think the reason for this is that at the time, Pangea hadn't released their Colonel Pult plush, so yeah, this one was just kind of a copy of the Lynxen one because they had no design to base off of their normal plush. Because well, if you compare this one to the Lynxen Colonel Pult, you can see it basically is just the exact same copy of the Colonel Pult, except just with less leaves around it. And besides that, this plush is basically a copy of the Lynxen Colonel Pult, except it just has a hammer back to it. But yeah, the material used on the corn itself is overall pretty high quality and is basically an exact copy of the Lynxen material as from what I could tell. But yeah, it does make this one technically more unique than the others because instead of being based off of Pangea plush, it's based off of a Lynxen plush. And well, as I said earlier, this plush is extremely rare and I could only find 1 set of images of it and it has 0 documented owners. So yeah, if you want this plush, it's probably the rarest in the whole set. You have a very low chance of finding it. And now moving on to the final plush in this set, we have the Squash. Now just like the Chomper, only has 1 documented owner of it, and this one's just extremely rare as well. And well, but uses the Pangea design of the Squash, except the Squash part is just smaller and just has a hammer part on the back of it. And well, the embroidery is basically the exact same as in the Pangea Squash, so yeah, it basically isn't much unique because, well, it's basically the exact same design. But one thing that I did find interesting about this plush is that it seems that the color of the skin on the Squash is slightly different than the original Pangea one. I don't know if this is just like quality control as this plush is sun faded, but yeah, it seems to just be slightly different. And well, the stem on the top could get damaged and get under stuff over the years, but yeah, besides that, this plush is overall pretty good and is overall pretty high quality. And well, as I said earlier, it only has one documented owner. I have only ever seen it once for sale, so yeah, it's extremely rare. If you want, you could look on eBay or Zenyu, but you have a very low chance of finding it, just like basically every single other plush in this set. But yeah, which plush is your favorite? Mine's probably Snow Peepers. Comment down below yours, and yeah, have a great day. Pangea is a somewhat well-known company, and today we're going to be looking at the third ever main set of Plants vs. Zombies plushes that they made. And well, this wasn't actually the third plush set that they made of Plants vs. Zombies because, well, they made some miscellaneous sets, but yeah, this is the third ever main Plants vs. Zombies plush set that they made. So with that said, welcome to a look at the Pangea Set 3 plush set. Starting off with the first plush in the set, we have the Cherry Bomb. Now, I would overall say that the Cherry Bomb plush is overall pretty good, and it actually does resemble Lynxen's a little bit. Because, well, as you can tell from, like, the faces and, like, the stems and everything, you can kind of tell this was based off Lynxen's design of Cherry Bomb. And, well, overall, it isn't really as good as the Lynxen one. It's just kind of like a lesser version of the Lynxen one, in my opinion. Because, well, the one thing that I don't really like about this plush is that the buck teeth on it are made out of a felt material, and they overall just stick out really weirdly, so yeah, I could get easily bit and damaged there, and overall, I just don't really like the design. But besides that one bad detail, in my opinion, the rest of the plush is actually pretty good. And well, in terms of accuracy, the eyes weren't in the correct color because, well, this wasn't made a design until Plants vs. Zombies 2, which wasn't out at the time, but yeah, overall, it still looks pretty good. And well, besides the teeth, there's no really other materials on this plush that could get damaged, so yeah, overall, a pretty nice one. And well, basically every single plush in this set is really rare, so yeah, if you do want any of these plushes, I recommend look on eBay or Zenyu, but they are quite rare and are quite hard to find. And well, moving on to the next plush in this set, we have the Jalapeno. Now this one looks really weird, especially on the face, because, well, but in my opinion, it just doesn't really look that accurate. And I think the thing that kind of ruined this plush is that they made the eyes 3D instead of just stitched onto the plush. Which in my opinion just kind of ruined it because, well, I think it would have looked a lot better if it was actually stitched onto the face because, well, I didn't really think that they executed the 3D look that well. Because, well, some companies like WorldMax actually did a pretty good job making the 3D design on the face, but yeah, this company definitely did not. I think it would have looked a lot better if they just used embroidery instead of actual, like, plush material for the eyes. But yeah, besides that, the rest of the plush is overall pretty good. It's in the correct shape, and it's quite obviously based off of Lynxen's because, well, it has the lily pad on it to make it stand up a bit more. And also, in my opinion, the mouth on it actually looks pretty good, especially because it's embroidered on. But yeah, if the eyes weren't like 3D-ish, this plush would actually be pretty good. But yeah, if you want this plush, you can find it on eBay or Zenyu, but it is quite rare. And well, moving on to the next plush in the set, we have the Squash. Now, in my opinion, this is probably the best in the whole set because, well, in my opinion, it actually has the most accuracies on it. Because, well, if you just look at the design of the Squash's face, you'll overall see that they actually put a lot of work into it and embroidered it on really nicely. And in my opinion, they got the expression quite right on this plush, and it overall just looks really nice, especially because, well, they did a good job shaping it. And well, it's clear that they put a lot of effort into this plush, and yeah, overall, it just looks great in my opinion, especially because it isn't based off of a Lynxen design. So yeah, out of any plush of this set, I would definitely recommend getting this one, because it's nicely stuffed, and overall, it just looks really good with the embroidery on the face. But yeah, this plush is really rare though, and barely has any documented owners of it, and barely has any pictures of it in general, so yeah, if you do want this plush, you can find it on eBay or Zenyu, but you have a very low chance. And now moving on to the next plush in this set, we have the Colonel Polt. Now this plush has some very weird design choices, especially because, well, the materials used on it and the design in general just doesn't really look that good in my opinion. Starting off with the first bad thing about it, the leaves don't actually fully cover the plush because, well, at the bottom of it, it actually is like fully yellow instead of being green like it's supposed to be, and the leaves don't really fully cover the Colonel Polt like it's actually supposed to. And well, the kernel itself is actually made out of a pretty good material, and overall looks pretty nice because, well, they put a lot of detail into it, but besides that, the rest of the plush is actually pretty bad. First off, for some reason they use these like beads as eyes, which is overall a really bad design choice because they're only glued on, they could easily fall off, and same thing with the eyebrows. And well, the eyebrows could get even more damage because they're made out of a felt material, so they also collect debris and dust, so yeah, obviously not the best design choices for the eyes and the eyebrows. And well, the good thing about this Colonel Polt plush, it actually has a pole on it, but the pole itself is overall just really weird, especially because the part of it that it uses to fling out kernels is pink. Which overall just doesn't really make any sense because, well, it's not supposed to be pink. So yeah, I don't know why they did that, but yeah, it's overall just a really dumb design choice that they decided to make on this plush. But yeah, this Colonel Polt plush definitely isn't the best in the set, and definitely is not the best Colonel Polt plush that was ever made because, well, it just has tons of inaccuracies on it, and overall just doesn't really look that good in my opinion. But yeah, if you do want this plush, it only has one documented owner, so you have a very low chance of finding it, but you can look on eBay or Zenyu for it if you really want it. But yeah, which plush in this is your favorite? Mine's probably the Squash, but comment down below yours, and yeah, have a great day. Pangea is a company that made many Plants vs. Zombies plush sets, and today we're going to be looking at the final Plants vs. Zombies plush set that they ever made. So with that said, welcome to a look at the Pangea Plants vs. Zombies Set 4 plush set. Now I'll start with the first plush of the set, which is the potted pea shooter. Now all the potted plushes in the set uses the exact same pot, and them being made out of a normal plush material that has Plants vs. Zombies text embroidered onto them. And for the pea shooter itself, the stem's actually a really bad detail about it because it could get extremely floppy over the years and just kind of fall over. The reason for this is that it doesn't have anything inside the stem except stuffing, so yeah, there's nothing really to hold it up well over the years, so that's a really bad thing about this plush because it could easily get damaged there. And this plush has 2 leaves which are made out of a felt material and they could get bent and damaged over the years, so yeah, that's obviously a bad thing about this plush. And another inaccuracy about this plush is that it's all the same color, as the head of this plush is supposed to be a lime or green color than the stem and the leaves, but it's not. But yeah, this plush's head is overall pretty accurate and has nice embroidery on the eyes. It also has a nice leaf on the back of it, which isn't made out of a felt material like other companies, so yeah, that's a plus about this plush. But yeah, there's a lot of inaccuracies about this plush, but if you still want it, you could get it on eBay or Zanyu, but it will be quite hard to find. And now let's move on to the next plush set, which is the sunflower. And this plush uses the exact same leaves and stem as the pea shooter, so it could all get damaged just like the pea shooter, so the neck could get floppy over the years. And one really weird thing about the sunflower plush is that for some reason the back of the head is the same color of the face, even though it's not supposed to be, because the back of the head is supposed to be a green color, not the same color as the face. And now the face on the sunflower is overall just kind of lacking detail because it's only 2 eyes and a mouth, which overall just doesn't really look that good for some reason because they just didn't make the pupils big enough. So yeah, the eyes are just mostly black, which overall just kind of looks weird. And the color of the face is overall just really weird because it's kind of like an orangish brown color, even though it's definitely not supposed to be like that. So yeah, that's definitely one inaccuracy about this plush that's just really bad. And all the petals around the sunflower's head are overall just way too small, and they're also made out of a felt material, so you can get easily damaged over the years. So yeah, overall, the sunflower plush is just not that good of a plush because there's a lot of inaccuracies on it, and there's a lot of details that could get easily damaged over the years. And honestly, this plush has to be one of the worst in the set just for those things, just because it could get easily damaged and it's just overall just really inaccurate. But if you want this plush, you can find it on eBay or Zanyu. Now let's move on to probably one of the most simplistic plushes in the set, being the snow pea. Now this plush uses the exact same pattern as the pea shooter plush, and it actually just is basically the exact same plush besides the head. Because the only thing that's changed about this plush is that the head is just blue and the leaf on the back of it is just blue instead of being a darker green color. And that's literally all they changed about this plush. They didn't even change any designs or anything, and they didn't make the stem a different color like it's supposed to be on the snow pea. So yeah, it's overall just kind of a really weird plush because it's basically the exact same as the other plush we already looked at. So yeah, I honestly don't have much to say about this plush because it's basically an exact copy of the pea shooter, but the stem could also get severely understuffed over the years just because it's the exact same as the pea shooters. And one thing I did notice about the snow pea plushes is that it seems for some reason the necks on these plushes are just longer. Because basically every single picture and listing I've seen of this plush, the neck is just really long for some reason. And also the one that I own also just has a really long neck that could just get understuffed over the years. So I don't know if that's like a quality control thing or just that's how actually the plush is supposed to be. But yeah, overall this plush is just really weird because it's basically an exact copy of the pea shooter, but if you want, you can find it on eBay or Zanyu. Now also on to the next plush system, which is the walnut. Now this plush was probably one of the easiest to make in the whole set because they just combined 2 plushes, being the plant pot and also just the walnut plush. So basically what Pangea did is they just got their walnut plush and stitched it onto a pot and called it a new plush, which is overall just kind of a really easy thing to do for them. But yeah, the walnut itself is overall really good because it actually can get understuffed in any areas like the other plants because it doesn't have a stem on it, so this one actually holds up a lot better than the other ones. But yeah, really the only bad thing about this walnut plush is that it's overall just really weirdly shaped because it's not actually a circular shape like it's supposed to be, it's actually a lot taller than it's supposed to be. But besides that, the rest of the plush is overall really good because it has some really nice embroidery on the face and also has some extra details at the bottom of it to make it look more accurate. Which is something that I'm pretty sure only Pangea ever did on their walnut plush, so this makes this one a lot more unique. But yeah, overall, this plush is just really good, especially because it holds up really well over the years and there's really no details that could get damaged. So yeah, if you want this plush, you can either find it on eBay or Zanyu. And now let's move on to the next plush set, which is the chomper. Now the chomper plush has the exact same problem as other plants in the set because it has a stem on it, so it could get easily understuffed over the years. And the chomper head itself actually just looks really good in my opinion because unlike the Lynxen version, it actually doesn't have eyes on it, which already makes it a lot better than that version. It also just overall looks really good in my opinion. Because well, I think the color of purple they chose to use on this plush overall just looks really good for a chomper, and they also made a lot of good details on it, and it basically has all the accurate details that are needed on a chomper plush, except the only really bad details about it is that there's some details that could get damaged, such as like the teeth, because they're made out of a felt material. And also the inside of the mouth, which is actually a brownish color, which isn't supposed to be like that, it's supposed to be a reddish color, which is also made out of a felt material so it could collect dust and debris over the years, but besides that, the rest of the plushes overall just look really good. And well, besides the teeth and the mouth, the rest of the plush overall just looks really good. I would definitely recommend getting it. So if you can find this plush on eBay or Zanio, I would definitely recommend getting it because well, it's overall just a really accurate looking chomper plush. And now let's move on to the next plush, which is the jalapeno. Now, just like the walnut, this plush was probably very easy for Pangea to make because they just took another plush and just put a plant pot on the bottom of it. Because, well, the jalapeno is basically the exact same jalapeno used in past sets made by Pangea, except it's just stitched onto a flower pot, so it's just overall a really easy plush for them to make. But yeah, the jalapeno itself overall looks pretty weird, especially on the eyes. Because well, some companies like Worldmax overall did a pretty good job making the 3D eye look, but this one just definitely did not. I think another thing that just makes this plush overall look really weird is the stem on it for some reason just stretches out really long over the face, which I just don't really like that much. And overall, I think that they should have just made the plush 2D instead of 3D on the eyes because, well, they overall just look really weird in my opinion. They definitely should have done that. But yeah, besides the eyes and the stem overall being really weird, the mouth was overall pretty nicely embroidered on. The good thing about this plush is that it doesn't have a stem, so it can't really get understuffed over the ears. But yeah, if it wasn't for the weird eyes and stem, this plush would overall be pretty good. And if you want this plush, you can find it on eBay or Zanio. And now let's go on to the next plush, which is the Bloomerang. Now the leaf base on this Bloomerang plush overall looks pretty accurate to how it looks in the game, so it's overall pretty nice. And well, the Bloomerang itself is overall just really skinny for some reason, but besides that, it's actually overall a really good plush. Because I really like the light blue color that they used on the top of it, and the Bloomerangs themselves overall just look really good in my opinion. Now, there's actually no details on this plush that could get easily damaged besides the boomerangs getting understuffed over the years, but besides that, there's really no details that could get damaged because, well, it doesn't really have any felt or iron-on materials on it that could get damaged over the years. And overall, they seem to put a lot of work into this plush because, well, but overall, it just looks really good, and it's one of the better plushes in the set. And well, if you can find this one, I would definitely recommend getting it. You could look on eBay or Zanio, but it's extremely rare and barely has any documented owners of it. And now let's go on to the next plush of the set, which is the Bonk Choy. Now this Bonk Choy plush overall looks pretty accurate in terms of the design of the body because it overall just looks really good in my opinion. The only thing that I don't really like about this plush is that the face of it for some reason has this like really weird embroidery on it. It uses a ton of different colors on it which doesn't really need to be there. Because for some reason instead of just using black embroidery like they should have, they used green embroidery and also white embroidery, which overall just looks really weird as it just doesn't really look that good together. As they made certain details one different type of stitching but made other details a different type of stitching. So yeah, it's overall just a really weird looking face that I just don't really like it on this plush. But besides that, the shape of the body is overall pretty good, and well, the arms on the plushes overall look pretty good as well, except they do look a little weird because they have like no metal rods in them like the Langston version, so they're just kind of like laying there. So yeah, they overall just kind of look really weird, just kind of just sitting there. And I think it would have looked better if they put something in them to make them looking like more standing up so it overall looks more accurate to the game. But besides that, the rest of the plush is overall pretty good, except it is extremely rare, so if you want, you can look on eBay or Zanio, but you have a very low chance of finding it just because it's extremely rare. Now let's move on to the next plush, which is the Coconut Cannon. Now overall, this Coconut Cannon plush is overall pretty good, except it does have a few weird details on it. And by far the weirdest detail on it is the fuse because, well, for some reason it has this really fuzzy part on it for literally no reason. And it definitely is not supposed to be like that, so yeah, this is overall a really weird detail they decided to add. But besides that one really weird detail, the rest of the plush is overall just pretty good. The shape of it is overall pretty nice. It has some pretty nice embroidery on the face that looks overall pretty accurate to how it's supposed to be. And while on the sides of it, it has coconuts with leaves on them, and the leaves could get bent and damaged because they are made out of a felt material, but besides that, the rest of the materials on this plush are overall pretty good and hold up really nicely over the years. And well, if this plush wasn't so rare, I would definitely recommend getting it, but it is extremely rare, so if you do want, you can look on eBay or Zanio, but there's basically no documented owners or barely even any documented images of it, so it's just extremely rare to find. And now let's move on to the next plush, which is the Chili Bean. And this probably has to be one of the most simplistic plushes in this whole set, but it's still overall pretty good. And I would say Pangea did a pretty good job making the shape of it look accurate to the game, and the face does also look kind of weird though. I don't really know why the face looks weird, it just kind of looks off in my opinion, but besides that, the rest of the plush is overall pretty good. It has a nice stem on it, which overall looks pretty nice. And well, since Chili Bean is a very simplistic character, it's a very simplistic plush for them to make, so that's why it's lacking a lot of details, because well, it just doesn't need that many details overall. So yeah, I think they did a pretty good job with this plush, especially for how simplistic it is. But yeah, just like the coconut cannon, this plush is overall pretty good. If you could find it, I highly recommend getting it because it is extremely rare, and also it looks pretty nice. You can look on eBay or Zanu, but it is extremely rare and you probably won't be able to find it easily. And now also on to the next plush of the set, which is the Fire Gourd. Now, one thing that you'll quickly notice about this plush is just kind of a lower quality version of the Lynxen one. Because as you'll notice, it basically uses the exact same design as the Lynxen version, except they kind of just change a few details, and honestly, it makes it look worse in my opinion. First off, for some reason they made the Fire Gourd plush just a lot wider on this one, which overall just kind of looks weird, and it doesn't really look that nice. They also made it a lot flatter than the Lynxen version. And while the embroidery on the face overall looks pretty nice, for some reason the specks on the cheeks are really far apart for some reason. Also, the eyes are facing the complete opposite direction, which makes the Fire Gourd plush just look extremely weird. And I think the main reason for this is that even on the Lynxen version, they are looking in separate directions, but the eyes aren't the exact same on the Lynxen version, and this one is basically just a mirrored face on each side. Because as you can tell, the eyes are both the exact same size, which they aren't supposed to be, but yeah, overall, this plush just doesn't really look that good in my opinion. The Lynxen version is definitely a lot better. And it has a stem and leaf on the top of it, which seems to be made out of a felt material, so that could get damaged over the years. But yeah, overall, this Fire Gourd plush seems to be just kind of a lower quality version of the Lynxen one, but I would still recommend getting it if you could find it, because it is extremely rare, and I recommend looking on eBay or Zenu, but you have a very low chance of finding it. And now also into the next plush set, which is the Bamboo Shoot. Now overall, this Bamboo Shoot plush is overall pretty weird, especially on the bottom of it, because well, it's just missing the dirt base on it. Because well, Bamboo Shoot is supposed to have a dirt base on it, but this one just kind of has like a normal like kind of yellowish color on it, which overall just looks really weird in my opinion, as it's not supposed to be there. And honestly, it doesn't really make much sense why they did that, because well, but overall just makes the plush look a lot weirder, but it also kind of makes it more unique. But yeah, besides that one really weird detail, it's basically just the same as the Lynxen Bamboo Shoot, except it's just slightly taller and doesn't have extra detail on it. It's just like kind of like stitching instead of having like extra plush detail on it. And while the embroidery on the face overall looks pretty good, I would have to say that this actually is a pretty good Bamboo Shoot plush overall. It's just kind of missing the dirt base on it. And while this plush will also be one of the more common ones in the set, because it's appeared on eBay a lot over the years. So yeah, if you do want this plush, you can look on eBay or Zanu. It's one of the more common ones in the set. And now moving on to the final plush in the set, we have the Zombie Hand. And well, they actually did a lot better job making this plush than the plants, because well, the hand could actually hold up really well over the years, because well, the stem and the plants were really not that well stuffed, but the hand on this one's overall pretty well stuffed, so it can't really get floppy over the years and fall over. And what I would overall say they did a great job on it, and really the only details that could get damaged are the nails, because they're made out of a felt material. But besides the nails on this plush, this one's actually just really good, and they made it out of a pretty weird material compared to the rest of the plush for some reason. And well, it's the only plush in the set to use this material, so it's overall just really weird that they decided to do that. But yeah, overall, I would definitely recommend getting this plush if you could find it, because it's just very unique. But yeah, which plush in the set is your favorite? Mine's probably the Bloomerang. Comment down below yours, and yeah, have a great day.